And we are live again. What's going on, everyone? It's your boy, Billy Rowe. Welcome to the first row. Today is Tuesday. I feel like two should be spelled T-W-O, Tuesday, because this is the second Intersation back-to-back. As I told you, we're going to have a double header today on Intersations. We just wrapped a phenomenal Intersations with Moses Jenkins on the Brothers Keeper methodology. Now we are jumping into a topic that I feel like is long overdue on Intersations. It is about opposite sex friends. And that will be with a very good friend, very close friend of mine by the name of Jennifer Chambers. Could you say hello to the people, please, Jennifer?
Hello, people.
Hello. As always, I always like to start off with Intersations with explaining what exactly is an Intersation. So Intersation is simply a construct that I created called interview and conversation. When you combine the two, you get Intersations. What is an Intersation? So in my life, I am very fortunate to have tons and tons of friends, acquaintances, family, and strangers, all kinds of people that talk to me. But what typically happens is our conversations go from a surface level into much more deeper concepts. So what Intersations is a way for me to literally open up those conversations. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. The person who even thought about not necessarily the word Intersations, but the concept of opening up conversations was the lady on the other end of the lens, Jennifer Chambers. She said, my friend, what if people could hear our conversations and they could learn and grow like we learn and grow in our conversations? Thus, the seed for Intersations was planted. So Intersations is literally a lens into this conversation. Though you will see Jennifer and I conversing back and forth on the video, realize that this is for everybody to engage and get involved with so that you can contribute feedback, you can ask questions, and this can be a group conversation. So with that, I want to take a moment just to say, if you could say, please, 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 Jennifer, if you could introduce yourself to the people before we get started.
Absolutely. My name is Jennifer Chambers. I'm in Monterey, California. I hear a slight echo, Billy. Can you hear that too?
I do not hear an echo. Let me see. Oh, I hear it now. Do you have the video open?
No.
No?
It went away. It went away. Okay, so my name is Jennifer Chambers. I'm from Monterey, California originally. I lived in Los Angeles for about 10 years, and then I recently moved to Texas. I've been here almost 2 years in January. I've been in retail management on a corporate level and in the field for about 18 years. I work full-time and I go to school full-time. My major is business management with a minor in technology information. And I have been friends with Billy Rowe for approximately 21 years. Yes, we are old. And you know what? Let me say this. I am a little upset that I am going after Moses because with all his energy, I was like side-eyeing, like, really, I got to go after this? Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
That's Moses, though. Moses and I always have a good time. I feel like Moses and I can have like a cup of, well, he don't drink alcohol anymore, but a cup of something, maybe some cup of hot chocolate or something, and just go on a conversation for hours. So don't worry, everybody's energy is different. Everybody's love is all the same, though. So when you're on this channel, you get love from me regardless. I think it's funny because you would feel like 21 years of friendship was just kind of developing us to have this particular conversation in front of a live audience. And so we're going to see how this goes. Again, I want everybody to feel like they have everything going. Yes, it is better now, my friend. I could see on the live chat when you're typing. And so get everybody else.
Well, no, somebody else on the live chat had said that it's lighten it up or light it up. I thought maybe that they were referring to the darkness in the room. That's why I put that comment on there.
Oh,
but they just meant like light it up, but I meant them like lighten up the room. So.
No, he said light it up.
I know, I get it now.
Flame on. So with that, I always like to start off the conversation on Intersations with a very simple question. When it comes to the concept of opposite sex friends, what does that topic mean to you?
Ooh, it's simple, but it's not so simple. I guess it depends on who you ask. For me personally, it just means having a personal friendship with someone of the opposite sex that is completely platonic, that has no sexual interests, no innuendos, no hide and go seek, no one waiting for opportunities, just two really good people who are learning from each other, benefiting from each other's friendship, and really learning and growing, which is what I've pretty much done with you for 21 years. So it's important to me, and it's important that people really understand that you can have opposite sex friendships without anything else going on, no other secrets. It's all out there.
So I agree with you. There's no other secrets, nothing else going on. I forget there's something that's no one here is just us something. I forget what that saying is, but that's what it means a lot to me. But I also think the opposite sex friendship is really the different dynamic for me, and what it means to have an opposite sex friend is there's a different element of trust. And maybe that's a little different nowadays, but for me as a heterosexual male, Boris will account to this. We're pretty much trusting that neither one of us is interested in each other, but it's like a given. And instead with, opposite sex friendships, there is a different level of trust that has to be there to realize, as a female, if you're giving me relationship advice, that it's coming from a genuine place and that it's not rooted in some kind of diabolical plan to win me over. And as a male, that I'm not giving you advice like, girl, I would treat you so much better. And here, if I was your man, this is what I would do. So opposite sex friendships, it has a couple of different dynamics. But at the end of the day, in my world, the key emphasis is really not on opposite sex. It's really on friendships. So if you know what it is to be a friend, it shouldn't matter what gender your friend necessarily is if you're truly focused on friendship. So I hope we get a little bit into that today or tonight. But with that, we're getting ready to start firing some rapid fire questions. So I hope you're ready. Can you dig it? So my first question, and it's a question that's been asked of me actually, because I have a majority of female friends more so than male friends. Can a truly platonic opposite sex friendship exist? Is my first question to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A platonic friendship can absolutely exist, but both parties have to be completely transparent about their intentions. Now, there are signs to look out for when you're starting a friendship with someone and you think it's going to be platonic, and then somebody's kind of throwing little shots out there, kind of putting their feelers out there to see, if you're willing to take it to the next level, or if you're interested like they're interested. So that's important to pump the brakes right then and there and let them know what your intentions are and what they're not going to be. If you want a strictly platonic relationship, it has to start off like that off the gate. Everybody has to be very open and transparent about where this relationship is going to go. That means that if you're in a relationship with someone else, there's absolutely no hiding that friendship, whether it's via phone calls, text messages, computer communication, kind of lying about your communication or the content to that. There has to be boundaries, lines that are drawn that cannot be crossed. If you're someone looking for a hype man, meaning you're looking for someone to compliment you, or someone who someone to turn to when your relationship is on the rocks or not going the way it should, that's actually not a platonic friend. That's someone who's actually an emotional crutch for you, and they're just really an opportunist, just sitting back waiting for an opportunity to jump in and be like, see, so if I was your dude, I wouldn't treat you like this. Absolutely not platonic. That's someone who's an opportunist. And so it's important to really know who's going to be a platonic friend and someone who's going to give you unbiased advice and help you out when you need it, but not lurk in the shadows and wait for your relationship to fall apart. So is it possible? Absolutely. Is it rare? I guess it depends on who you're asking. If I didn't have Billy Rowe as a platonic friend, I'd probably say, sure, it's rare. But because I have 21 years of just a platonic friendship with you, I know your kids, and your wife, it's possible now. But if you ask young Jen in the early 20s, absolutely not. If you ask Jen now, absolutely. So it's definitely possible.
One of the things that I like that you said there is that opportunist. you know, you got you call up your guy friend and it's like, oh, you know, I just had a fight with my boyfriend and I just need somebody to talk to. And you come over and there's candlelights and, you know, Jodeci playing, talking about, come to me. There's a problem. That's not a platonic friend. And it's going to be an issue later on because really they're waiting for their opportunity to woo you. And I think also what you bring up by talking about an opportunist mentality is the dangers, because you, as a friend, you give a lot of your friends an inside track onto who you are, how you think, what you like, what you dislike. And so they have a lot of information to almost shift from being an opportunist into a full-blown con man to take that information and then utilize it against you. Well, I know you like roses, so you just had an argument with your man, so I'm going to have you here, bam, the rose is at the door, go ahead. And then all of a sudden you getting rose petal massages. Yeah, that there's a problem. So I agree with you on what you're talking about, having that unbiased, genuine person who is looking for the best in you, and I mean it the way I said it, looking for the best in you, not so they can have it, but so that they can add to it. My friend, are you muted? Or are you just moving your lips and not talking?
Am I muted?
No, you're not muted. You just were moving your lips and it's like you were talking. So I really appreciate that. And did Carisha say she's in here?
Yeah, Carisha's in the house. Hey, Dr. Gales.
Welcome. Because at first I seen the name and I was like, okay, but it says it's Carisha. And I was like, wait a minute, I know Carisha. Then I was like, okay, wait, maybe I read that wrong.
Shout out to LA.
All right, look at us over here in all parts of Cali and across the nation right now. So with that, I want to move kind of into my second question for you tonight. So kind of going back to the beginning when I was saying, for me, opposite sex friendships yield some benefits that same-sex friendships don't typically yield. In your experience, what are some of the advantages of having opposite sex friendships over having a same-sex friendship?
Well, there are many advantages to having opposite sex friendship. First, that I can think of being perspective. So it's absolutely crucial to be able to have the opposite sex perspective if you want to grow and move forward. This helps with understanding, empathy towards the opposite sex, patience. It also helps. I mean, if you isolate yourself with the same sex and you're around, let's say for me, if I'm around all girls and nothing but girls, it's going to be a little awkward when it's time for me to move into a relationship with someone and try to empathize with them or understand them as a Black man and what they've been through and how they're feeling and how maybe they're perceiving me and the way I'm coming across. And so to have a friend of the opposite sex, I can bounce questions off him and be like, you know, listen, I'm going to give you this story. What am I doing wrong in this situation? What could be doing? What could be going through his mind? And really to just gain perspective on the opposite sex. I think that's the best way to really getting an inside scoop on the opposite sex. So yeah, it's like the ultimate window, you know, to be able to bounce ideas off the opposite sex. And not only that, but I feel like you get a non-biased perspective. You know, with women, we tend to be biased when we're talking about men. And so it's more beneficial to get that information directly from a guy who's like, man, we ain't even looking at it like that. You know, this is the way we're really looking at it. So I think it helps with perspective. I know that I've done things with you that I probably wouldn't have done with a female friend, like going to a gun range. So that was one of the benefits of having an opposite sex friendship, was like guns. I never really thought about guns, but okay. So I think I've broadened my horizons when it comes to going out and doing things that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise. Things like that, I feel like were very beneficial in having an opposite sex friendship.
Okay. I like that. You know, you're right. It does expose you to certain things that typically you wouldn't do. I mean, that's not to say that I don't know women who shoot better than me and go to the gun range with outside of any man. But I do agree with you. It does expose you to different experiences and different perspectives. And in a lot of ways, I mean, there's been times where you just having a female to talk to that I can trust, that I have a strong relationship with, that I've been able to come to you. I mean, there's pretty much nothing that you don't know about me, but I've been able to come to you and say, hey, look, here's what I'm thinking, or here's where I'm going. And there's been times where you've disagreed with me. And it's been like, we've talked about it before where I'm like, you'll be talking to me on the phone, and if we could see each other, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. In my head, I'm saying I don't want to hear it. But at the same time, I need to hear it because it's a perspective that I do not have because of the way that I think as a man is different than a lot of women. So I think there is a very a significant intellectual advantage. And I don't mean somebody being smarter than somebody, but I mean having more information about a perspective that you are not going to be able to see. I don't wear the things that women wear. I don't experience the menstrual cycle that a woman experiences. So to hear somebody, I've had women who've like, hey, that whole menstrual cycle thing is an excuse to lash out on people. That's not me. That doesn't mean that all women don't really have legitimate hormone imbalances when they're going through their cycle. But being able to hear that allows me to start diving deeper into with my partner. Like, okay, so you're on your cycle. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for us? How do I need to kind of curve my communication to you based on whether you're more sensitive or less sensitive, or you might want to eat more, and I can't be sitting there looking at you when you're on your cycle like, girl, why are you eating up all the food? No, I need to go ahead and let you eat, but realize when you're not on your cycle, we're gonna be in the gym working out. So those are some of the things. We actually got a couple things going on over here in the chat that I want to bring into the conversation. First, we have Brian Bourne. I've never seen your name before, Brian, but welcome to the conversation. I stopped dealing with this chick because she showed her male friend, her quote unquote male friend, all of our text messages to get advice from a male's perspective. I'm good. We're not in the 8th grade. I got ghosts. Really quick, what are your what are your thoughts on that? I have some thoughts I'm gonna share, but I want to hear your thoughts.
I understand. When you're communicating with somebody, you communicate with them one-on-one, and you assume that that's going to stay between the two of you, as it should. It should absolutely stay between the two of you. And I feel like if you're going to ask somebody for advice, perhaps you can do it confidentially without disclosing personal information, etc. I mean, it depends on what was in the text messages. I can't really say, but I will say that in my case, I asked, I come to my friend with questions, and a lot of times are hypothetical. What would you do if, and that kind of helps the situation. But I understand how that can kind of be looked at as like almost like a breach of trust, I guess, when you're going through it with someone and they're reaching out to somebody else. But it just becomes a slippery slope. One, it depends on who they're talking to. Is this friend an ex? What's this friend's intentions? Are they sitting around playing hide and go seek, waiting for an opportunity to jump all over you? Or are they actually reading the text going, listen, I know you're my friend and all, but you were wrong. He was right, you were wrong. So you don't really know what's being said between the two friends. It could be someone who's actually agreeing with you, Brian. Go figure, So I don't really think you can ghost somebody right off the bat when you're not really sure the depth of the relationship or how genuine the relationship is. And what do you think, Billy?
I agree with you to an extent. I agree with you. The ghosting somebody right off the bat because information was shared. If they're looking for a genuine advice and it's somebody who is going to have their best interest in mind, which if they're in a healthy relationship with you should be the best interest of your relationship. If they're going to somebody that they've established that trust with and they're not a opportunist male or opposite sex friend, or if they're not a manipulative opposite sex friend, then it is healthy for them to go. Now, would I recommend sharing all messages? Absolutely not. Because again, I agree with you in that sense. Some messages are given in confidence. And if I'm with you, I shouldn't have to send things to you through a filter of, well, what if you show this to X or what if you show this to Y? And so, and in the use of a word that was thrown around that's now a law, I shouldn't have to worry about you revenge porning my words against me later on or during the relationship. So I agree with you from that perspective, Brian, that you have to make the best decision for yourself. If you don't want to be in a relationship where any information is shared or any information is disclosed, then yeah, you get out of that relationship because it's not a healthy relationship for you. And so since you put in quotes all, I'm assuming everything was shared. And I don't think it's fair to have a relationship with somebody. Personally, I don't think it's fair to have a relationship with somebody where everything is disclosed all the time to people outside of that relationship. Like if I'm struggling with depression, I may want you to know that to help me through that as my partner, as my girlfriend, whatever it may be. But I may not want everybody else to know that. I may not want you to take that information to your male friend and be like, well, Billy is dealing with depression, so how can I help him as a man? No, I'm talking to you about it. Let's try to work through it. And if you feel like you're incapable of doing that, or you don't have the information to give me to help me, then your guidance and conversation and communication should be that of, well, then here's my recommendation, babe. Maybe you need to go and see a counselor. I'm happy to go and sit with you and be that support agent. But I do think, and we're going to get into it a little bit later, Brian, that there are some people that utilize that platonic friend or that opposite sex friend as a crutch. Thanks, cousin Mo. Appreciate it. As a crutch. So those are my thoughts about it. Brian, I seen you put something else here. She and I were having issues. So she actually told me what she did. Previously, she told me this guy liked her. That ain't a friend.
Nope. Right there, that's not a friend. So
there you go. That's not a friend. You're sharing all this information. That's not a friend. And so from that stance, I'd have ghosted her the moment she said, well, that's a friend, but he likes me, but he's just my friend. No, you like the attention, and that's why he's still your friend. Right. So I agree with you on that call to ghost him. The next thing we have here is a question from Black Heights. It says, question to you both. Should you remove yourself from having an opposite sex friend when you are getting very serious in your relationship? The person is really just a friend in this case. Should you remove yourself from that 21-year friend?
It's a great question. For why? That's my question. If it's a genuine friend, if you've never had any kind of, hey, I like you, this person's not an opportunist. They support your relationship. They like the person you're with. I don't understand why you would have to disconnect that friendship. I assume maybe because the other person or your significant other is uncomfortable. My question would then be, why is he or she uncomfortable, right? If this is a genuine friend, what is it that they have to be worried about? Oh, well, you talk to her a lot. Okay. Oh, well, maybe you'll be interested in her. No, there should be trust there. So to me, if it's a genuine platonic friend, there's really no need to edit, cut somebody out or ex-nay them. But I have met many of people, unfortunately, who feel like the minute you get in a relationship, everybody gotta go. And it's like, why are you so insecure that it got to just be me and you and everybody else got to go? Like, you know what I mean? That really makes me start to probe to ask more questions to that person. So what is it that you're worried about? And not only that, but are your concerns your concerns? And why are they now my concerns? Because that sounds like a personal problem to me if you have issues with my friends. That's the way I look at that.
Okay. So I'm going to take this out of the relationship realm from being in a relationship to a realm that I experienced personally. So when I went through my divorce with my oldest son's mother, she ended up getting in another relationship, and there was a guy that, my son liked, and I had to come to terms with the fact that my son eventually was probably going to call another man dad or another man father. And coming to terms with that, the way I was able to come to terms with that was like, okay, so my son is my son. I love him. Obviously, I brought him into this world half with his mother. What does it mean if he calls another man dad? And really, the way I was able to reconcile that was, why would I want to limit the amount of people in this world that love my son? Why would I want to set, well, you can only have 2 parents that love you, that you can recognize that love you, and you call them mom and dad. You can only have 2, and I'm one of them, so you can only have 1, and your mom is the other, so you can't have any more. Why would I want to limit that? And so when you're in a relationship and it gets serious, the serious time is a little too late to be talking about what are we going to do with these existing friendships? What are we going to do with these people that I'm bringing with me? I just got done watching a show today on TV, and one of the things they said was, when you come into a relationship, or when a person comes into a relationship, they don't come by themselves. They don't come isolated. they come with the people who were there prior to you. So it's almost unfair to say, hey, thanks people who got you to this point. I'll take it to here. Everybody else F off. I feel like that's wrong to do. So whenever I've been in a situation where the person I was with had opposite sex friends, I've just been really big like, hey, look, I'm not even going to concern myself with whether the friend likes you or not. I'm not about to lose any sleep over whether somebody likes you or not. I like you, so I assume there's other people that like you. However, the responsibility of our relationship is on you and I. I'm not coming to hold the opposite sex friend accountable. Well, why didn't you look out for my relationship's best interest? Well, because you wanted to sleep with the person I was with. So of course you're not going to look out for the best of my relationship, but I'm not in a relationship with you. The person I am in a relationship with, that's who I need to hold accountable to our relationship. So do you tell them to exile all their friends? In my opinion, no. And if you're waiting until it gets to a serious point, then you've waited too long, because now you're invested and neither one of you want to walk away. So you'll say you'll make compromises that you're not really willing to make. And so when it comes to bringing that up at a later date and saying, well, now that we're serious, you need to get rid of Ted and Smith and John. Well, if you would have told me that in the beginning, we would have never got to serious.
Right.
And so either I'm going to tell you, yeah, okay, I'll get rid of Ted, Smith, and John. And then what happens is now I'm living this life of regret because I miss Ted, I miss Smith, I miss John, and the things that we used to do just as friends. I'm not talking about sexual things, but as friends. And that's unfair to me because it depletes from my happiness. And now you're living on cloud nine, or you're still accusing me of talking to Fred, John, and Smith anyway. So what the hell does it matter? So that's my long answer to that. I'm sorry if it got wordy, but I hope that answers your question. Let's move back into the conversation. I see some other things that are here that I want to touch base on. I told you this was going to be a fire conversation. There's some other things here that I want to touch base on, but let me ask my next question first, and then we'll come back into the live chat. You guys keep it coming, please. I appreciate it. So going from the advantages of opposite sex, and after everything that we just said and talking to the chat, I want to ask you this. Do you believe that opposite sex friendships start off with some form of physical attraction? Like, what do you think initiates the friendship?
It can. I believe that you can start off being attracted to someone first, and that's what initially gets you to start opening your mouth to talk to them. However, as we all know, once you meet someone, it can initially change how you initially were looking at them. So they can go from being someone who, ooh, they're kind of sexy or attractive to not so much. Let's just put them in the friend zone. So
they used to be.
You absolutely can start off by just being attracted to someone, but actually getting to know them and getting in their mind and getting to know what kind of person they are and what they stand for. It can change your perspective from one of, oh, I really want to get to know this person on an intimate level to, you know what, I just really want to get to know this person on an intellectual level because I feel like they'd be more beneficial as my friend.
Okay. That is actually fair, because we make fun of the friend zone. But the reality is sometimes until you open your mouth and talk to somebody, you may not understand that they are actually a friend. And you and I have had conversations about this as well, where we've been friends for 21 years. Initially, there was an attraction there. You was like my little seaside boo in Monterey. And I was, yeah, you know, I got me a yellow bone in Monterey. I'm playing with you. But there was a sense of attraction from like, oh, she's cool, she stands out, she seems like she's fun. And then, you know, there was a space of not talking. And when we came back into that space, it very much wasn't about, well, let me reconnect on some love connection type stuff. It was really about, you know, this is a person that I remember as a child and during my childhood really connecting with and having a good energy and a good vibe with. And why would I want to bring that back into my life at this point? I will say that I'll bring that up a little bit later. But I think that's very important that you be able to disseminate which category that you sort and sift to, and don't sell yourself on which category you're sorting and sifting to, because if you do, what ends up happening is you say, well, I really want to keep this one, so I'm going to say he's a friend. Or I really want to keep this one, so I'm going to say she's a friend. And once you do that, now you have somebody in your friend basket who you can't really truly trust yourself around. And it's not an unbiased situation, maybe not necessarily from them, but for yourself. So I think that was a very good response. So we got a couple other things here from the chat I want to bring in so I can catch up. Let's see. Black Height says, in university, I had a best friend I think the who is unnecessary, and she knew everything. We spent many nights together talking about life, her relationships, and mine, no touching, etc. And one night she said, have you ever thought about us? Needless to say, ground rules were broken. Ooh, yeah. Those fillers. You put those.
Those are the fillers.
Us. No, and you gotta leave now. Because the people don't ask those types of questions if they're not genuinely interested in the answer or planting a seed of, well, maybe there's an opportunity there. So so when somebody breaks those ground rules, you call them ground rules, I call them standards. When somebody betrays a standard that you have, then you have to deal with that accordingly. Whereas Brian said, hey, look, I had to ghost her because, you know, she was telling all my business to what I called the boyfriend on standby. And I had to ghost her. And you gotta be willing to stand on your morals, not your high ground or not your soapbox, but stand on your morals and your standards. And if it's not something that you are willing to engage in, or it's not something that you have thought about, if you haven't been thinking about them, then you really don't want to betray that standard of your own. The next thing we got here is from Sylvia L. It says, due to past experiences with friends of the opposite sex crossing lines and or catching feelings, my husband and I both have chosen to safeguard our marriage by not having close friends of the opposite sex where we seek relationship advice. Okay. But that is based on our own personal experiences. I think it all depends on the two in the relationship and being respectful of one another. That's a great add to the conversation, Sylvia, because you do have to find out within your relationship what works for you and your partner. If it doesn't work, or if it works for you and doesn't work for him, or works for him but doesn't work for you, at some point it's going to cause an undue strain on the relationship. And that's unfair to the relationship to ask for those sacrifices to be made by one party. But, you know, he still has female friends and guy friends, but you can't have none. Or the opposite, you still have guy and girlfriends, but he can't have any female friends. It is about finding the balance for your relationship. I got a question here that I want you to address, JC. As far as from Damian Rowe, as you can see, we have the same last name. That is my brother. He says, question, even though this person is just a quote unquote friend, do you think it is vitally important that you set boundaries between you and that friend that can never be crossed? Why or why not?
I believe I answered that question a little earlier. The boundaries is absolutely important. One thing I want to say based on, I want to go back really quick to someone else's comment. I can't remember now, you know, I have short-term memory, but when it comes to like ex-naying someone in a relationship, when someone, here's my perspective. I'm a headstrong person. I'm an independent person. And if someone tells me what I'm about to do, that's what I ain't gonna do. That's just me. I've never needed someone to come up behind me, a gentleman who, you know, was sweet on me and say, hey, you need to stop talking to this and so. First of all, I can control my own relationships. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Who are you talking to back there, dog?
Appreciate you. But to me, that was more control. I used to actually be that person in my early 20s, believe it or not. I was that female who could not accept the fact that a male and a female could have a platonic relationship. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. And then the minute that a line was crossed or there was infidelity, it was like, see, that's why I told you, I knew it. And then everybody became a suspect. And then I became paranoid. And then everybody else was a suspect. It didn't matter if it was your mama, your sister, who that?
Right.
And then I had to really do some soul searching. And I was like, well, first of all, I'm not his mother. I can't tell a man what to do. A man is not my father. He should not be telling me what I need to do. Granted, he can have suggestions. You may have a suggestion, of course, and an opinion. But what you're not going to do is tell me who I can and cannot converse with. Like, it's just not, that's not what's going to happen. But I had to do some soul searching and figure out why I was so insecure about a man talking to a woman. Okay, not booed up in a corner whispering, not whispering sweet nothing in each other's ear. Obviously, that's inappropriate, and there's good reason why that shouldn't happen. But a genuine friendship out loud in front of other people, in front of me. They can come over to the house and get along with everyone. They talk on the phone on speakerphone, no big deal. There's obviously no secrets going on. Why am I so threatened by that? And I had to really do some soul searching and figure out why I was so insecure and work on my insecurities. Once I fixed me and my insecurities, it became so beautiful to not have to put so much attention on being immature, being insecure. She cute, she got a big booty. Where you meet her at? How long y'all been friends? You ever kiss her? You ever? That's a lot of energy. That's a lot of energy. I don't have time for all that. And if I have to ask all those questions, you probably aren't the one for me, and I shouldn't be in a relationship with you if I don't trust you. That's just the way I see it. And so if you have a female friend and you introduce me to her, when she coming over to eat dinner, like, it's not that big of a deal. Now, if I see some, some side-eyeing happening or some inappropriate conversations or whatnot, then we're going to have to cross that line. But it's like, I shouldn't just assume everybody's going to cross the line with my man because he's that fine, or I'm that ugly, so that everybody wants him is going to get him. That's insecurity. And that's personal. We need to start working on ourselves first before we hop into these relationships. Like, if you're really not about your girl or your guy having any friends of the opposite sex, you need to be by yourself.
Dang, she just called you out, Sylvia, in Black Heights. No, I'm playing.
Don't start that, Billy.
No.
We really got to work on ourselves first. I know I did before I got to this place. I really had to work on myself because I came from a broken place. My parent, I didn't come from a household where opposite sex relationships were modeled in a healthy way. Let's be honest. I didn't, and I'm sure a lot of my friends didn't either. But I had to really go back and say, why do I think like this? Where did this come from? And why am I like this? And then I had to start unplugging some cables and rewiring some things and going, God, you're too good for this. You got to figure out why you're so insecure, girl. And I figured it out. And I'm still working on myself. But I can honestly say that I'm in a place where if my significant other has a female friend he grew up with, went to school with, known her for 21 years, is the godfather of her children, what do I have to be insecure about?
Yeah, it's interesting because there is that that growth that we as individuals, I believe that we need as individuals in order to begin to partner in healthy relationships. And a lot of times, I mean, I'm guilty of it. A lot of times we come to the table ill prepared. And part of that preparation of individual growth is understanding, I'm not going to go as far as to say, well, you should not go into a relationship if you don't want the other person to have opposite sex friends. However, it's understanding why you don't want opposite sex friends in the mix and why that's important to you. And then communicating that again up front before people get vested in 12 years in. And then you I don't want you to have any more opposite sex friends. Like, what? Why'd you wait till we got this far along? So I definitely agree with you from that standpoint. It is about working on yourself and making sure that you're coming to the table with as many issues as you can resolved, not coming with as many issues as you can. That did not stop there, but resolved before you start trying to partner up and make somebody responsible for keeping your insecurities secure. Exactly. And that's not that everybody who requires for their partner not to have opposite sex friends is insecure, but that is just simply of, if you find that there are insecurities that you have and you're making the onus of the other person to secure those insecurities, I think you're starting off the relationship on a bad foot. And that's just my opinion, not take it with a grain of salt. The next thing that we have here is, I cannot say this name. Can you spell it phonetically? Siobaha? I don't know how to say it. Do you know who that is?
I don't. I'm not sure.
Well, welcome. I'm glad you came over. I don't know how to say your name. I apologize, but Sioba, or something like that, or Ban. It says, my husband has female friends, and honestly, I do not think that they are all platonic. I, on the other hand, cannot have male friends. Should married people have friends of the opposite sex separately? I'm saying I'm gonna call bullshit on that. That's a double standard.
Yeah.
And I mean, if your husband's watching, I mean, you're welcome to disagree with me, and I'm not speaking to your husband specifically. But anytime that there is a standard that is good enough for you but not good enough for the other party, that is the definition of a double standard. And if you find something wrong with it, then there is something, in my opinion, there is something inherently within you that would lead me to believe that you're not going to be responsible with having opposite sex friendships. So if I want to keep you from having something that I myself have, then apparently I'm telling myself that I know I'm reckless with this. And I'm just saying from my own perspective, from my own lens, I'm reckless with having opposite sex friends. And I really don't want my wife being out there reckless, having opposite sex friends. So I'm going to tell her she can't have opposite sex friends, but I can, because I want to be the only one being reckless and messing up in this relationship. So I don't agree with double standards. I will tell people all the time, hey, if I'm going to tell you to do it, it's not because I'm not willing to do it myself. If I'm going to give up opposite sex friendships, then I'm going to expect you to be willing to do that. And if you're going to give up opposite sex friendships, then I'm going to expect me to be willing to do that. However, I'm very clear on if I'm not doing something, I'm not doing it. So if you choose to give up opposite sex friendships on your own, in hopes to make me give up opposite sex friendships, that is not a double standard. That is you trying to manipulate your desire of me not having opposite sex friendships. So in your particular case, I'm not really sure, like I don't have enough information to say 100%, but I know when I was out doing dirt and being a dog that I didn't want people to be in the same position to be out and be a dog doing dirt. So I would try to set double standards. And so
I 1,000% agree with that, Billy. That's 100. I can't, I mean, I want to elaborate just a smidge more, but I feel like that's 100% correct. I just want to add on to that. That's control. It's just control. I can do this. You can't do that. And you know what? I know that a lot of things are kind of gray when it comes to like wife roles, husband roles, female roles, male roles, you know, like it's different from our grandparents, our parents, etc. Right? But I do believe, again, I'm an independent person. I've taken care of myself for most of my life, and I'll be damned if somebody gonna come in now and tell me what I is and is not gonna do. It's just, if you don't trust me to make the right decision, then again, perhaps you shouldn't be with me. Now, I've been in a relationship where I was with my boyfriend once, and we were walking through a mall somewhere, and this really attractive buff guy just walked up to me and approached me while I'm walking with my boyfriend. Now, this is the difference. What my boyfriend could have done was stepped up and been like, is there a problem? But he didn't. You know what he did? He stood there and he let the gentleman talk to me. And the gentleman was really spitting game. And I looked at him and I said, I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend. And he said, but I don't care about him. And my boyfriend's standing right there. And so I continued. I said, you know, I'm flattered. Thank you for the compliment, but I think it's extremely rude for you to approach me. You have no tact. I'm not interested, and have a nice day. And we walked away. And I did turn around and I asked my boyfriend, I said, so you weren't going to say nothing? And so you weren't going to say nothing, right? And he looked at me and he said, you can handle yourself. And you know what? I never thought about it like that. They could have been fighting in a mall over a chick, right? Me, of course. But he knew I could handle myself. And there was nothing that he needed. Now, he said if it got out of hand, of course I was going to say something, but I knew you can handle yourself and I trust you to handle yourself. That's the kind of person you want to be with, is someone who says, you know what? I'm insecure about you having male friends, but I got to trust you. And I trust that you're not going to put our relationship in jeopardy, and you're not going to do anything that's going to hurt our relationship. So I'm going to trust you, but I want you to know that I am concerned about it, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I'm not going to let it bother me. But if I see something that doesn't look right, I'm going to say something. If you have that open dialogue with your significant other, there should be absolutely no problems whatsoever. And not only that, but her friends and your friends should be able to come together and meet each other. It is a problem if he's never met her friends and she's never met his friends, but they've been friends and they so cool, but no one's ever spoken to anyone, no one's ever met anyone. Yeah, that can be a little odd and awkward because you really don't know the dynamic of that friendship. So I feel like it's important to make sure that everybody meets each other, so that you can put a face with a name. Hey, what's going on, Billy? Oh, hey, what's going on, Sophia? Whatever. And everyone kind of understands the dynamic and you draw that line. But you can't control her. If she's going to cheat, she's going to cheat.
Right.
Whether it's a friend or somebody from Instagram slide in the DMs or someone she met at work, cheaters are going to cheat. You can't control people. So stop trying to control people and who's in their circle, and just trust that the person you picked is the right person and they're going to make good decisions.
Right. Exactly. I like that. The aspect of you can handle yourself. I trust. Look, if I'm in a relationship with you, I need to be able to trust that you're going to handle yourself. And that was a big part of my second marriage, of the person that I married. I married somebody that I could trust because I knew that I was going to be in some type of business that led me to go abroad. And when I was going to be abroad, I didn't want to be worried about who the heck was creeping in my house while I was gone. So you have to be with somebody that you, well, you don't have to. I recommend you get with somebody that you can trust. Now, our marriage didn't work out, but that's for other reasons. But it was never because of, oh, she going to be creeping the moment she get an opportunity. But you also bring up a very good point, because what I have experienced is where, you know, that friend stops coming around when my relationship starts. And it's not because I've said, well, you got to get rid of them. And it's not because she said, well, you got to go away, but they stop coming around. And then when the relationship comes to an end, or when, you know, I'm no longer present, then the person comes floating back. And I don't ask myself, well, why are they showing up now? Well, they're showing up now is because their intention is never really truly to be a friend. Their intention is to be a love interest. And when you're in a relationship, if you're a committed, loyal person, they know that that's not an option. So they fade to black. They just fall back. And then when that relationship comes to an end, or when it seems like there's an opportunity to come back, they come back. And so you're right in both aspects of that. I like the fact that you did handle the situation, and, you know, really connecting with that, you know, your tact is tacky. And I don't like the way that you're approaching me. I'm standing next to somebody. You haven't even asked me if this is my boyfriend. I tell you I have a boyfriend, and your response is, I don't care about him. Now, what if my boyfriend, who's standing right here, knocked you out? Then you'd probably care about him. So it's good to realize that, yeah, that attention may feel good. Those DM inboxes may feel great, and you got your ego feeling good. But then now you're dealing with somebody who has already displayed that they don't have the moral values and the moral compass to make good, sound decisions. And that's who you're going to be as your next relationship partner. Or going back to my boy, Brian. Are you my boy now, Brian? Or my homie now? Going back to what I told him, you're willing to chill with and hang out and get in a relationship with the standby boyfriend who was standing by in the cut. Good luck with that one. And also really quick, thank you, Siobhan. I think that's how you pronounce it. Siobhan. That's how you pronounce it. That's an interesting way to spell that, but I like it. Siobhan. Jumping into a couple more things that are in this chat. Cousin Mo, I'm not really sure what you're talking about on this part of the chat, but it says I was going to bring up relationships earlier during the adverse question. I had to pivot on the fly. These are facts. Okay. Sylvia, it should be a matter of telling someone what to do. Oh, it shouldn't be a matter of telling someone what to do or what not to do. Sometimes that can be a case of control. Absolutely. So she's resonating with what you said. Rather, it should be a matter of mutual respect, discussing, and not demanding. I don't even need to add anything to that. Standards in the relationship. Siobhan says, I am not insecure, but others say it is inappropriate for me to be okay with it. The double standard. I think that's what you're referring to. Look, what you're okay with, if you're the person who has to live your life. So if you're okay with it, you're okay with it. There has been times where I've been in infidelity and cheating in the relationships that I was in. And I think some of the best advice given to the person I was with at the time was, at the end of the day, you got to live your life. So don't let other people tell you what you should and should not accept. They can give you that feedback, but at the end of the day, that choice is yours to make. If you love your husband and you're okay with the double standard, then live your life, girl, live your life. Also, Cousin Mo, I like unbroken people and people who may not have it all together, but are picking up the pieces. Broken people, though, are always out to break people, always trying to break. This is why we can't have nice things.
Low clap.
This is why. My brother Damien says, Jennifer, excellent feedback. And then we have Siobhan saying her name phonetically. Thank you. I appreciate that, but I will now remember it. Brian says, I'm good, but once I get into a relationship, the newer female friends get the axe just to give my girl peace of mind, but my childhood friends stay. I'm putting my foot down. That is, hey, that I like that, because there are times now, granted, I will say I have established new friendships while I was in a relationship, but the only times that didn't work out was when I was lying to myself. Like, yeah, she would make a good friend or something else if I wasn't in a relationship. That's when I got myself in trouble. But when they were genuinely friendships or business acquaintances that really grew closer, or, you know, those types of things, that's when I was in a good, healthy spot. But I agree. There's some people that, man, I'm really like, I'm not letting those people go. Like, we may change the dynamic of our friendship and not be, you know, staying the night at each other's houses. I've stayed the night at female friends' houses where we slept in the same bed and there was no boot up, coupling, spooning, or anything like that. It was like, hey, going to sleep, night, babe, night, out. Not waking up in the morning like, hey, so, you know, before you get out of the bed, you know, and put on extra clothes, you want to do something? No, there was none of that. So I've had that.
That wasn't me, just for the record.
No, it was not you.
No, I don't want anyone getting the wrong impression.
JC and I have never slept in the same bed. We slept in the same house, but not the same bed. Sidebar really quick. JC is one of the few friends who has never lived in my city, but I have gone to actually visit, where I've stayed with her, and we've gone out and done things that people maybe would perceive to be dates, like going to comedy clubs, going out to the beach and eating and stuff like that. However, we have never crossed a platonic line. There has never been a blur of our lines. And I think that is speaks to the possibility of friends that can be the opposite sex. Some may see that as, oh, you put yourself in a situation to kind of get messed up or cross that line. But again, it comes to about being honest with yourself. If you think that there is a line that will potentially be crossed, or somebody asks you a question, well, you know, have you ever thought about us, Mr. Antoine Wade? If they ask you that question, then you can say, no, but I think I need to get a hotel room tonight.
Yeah.
And so you remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to be asleep and worrying about if she come up touching your neck or hit your spot, and all of a sudden, well, I didn't want to do anything with her, but, you know, she hit my spot. Get out of here with that. So moving forward, we got Brian Sr. saying, yep, BS. I don't know what that's to, but I'm sure I would probably agree because that's my cousin and he's well thought. Siobhan says, that is what I thought. Siobhan says, it is totally double standards. Yes, it is. MC Fierce, I have opposite sex friends for as working. I think it's working. Oh, okay. I have opposite sex friends far as working out with them in the gym, and I don't see anything wrong with it. However, my husband thinks differently. I'm going to come back to that later when I go to the tools for the first row. But I've had female people that I've worked out with that are females, and I've had gym partners that are males. To me, if I'm there genuinely to work out and get healthy and we can all do the same type of workout and routines, then it really doesn't matter what the
Listen, Linda, listen. People need to really start taking responsibility for themselves. And as much as I can appreciate someone saying that they're uncomfortable with something else, at the end of the day, again, that's your insecurity. Yes, I understand. Well, you know what? Social media messed up a lot of things, because now you have all the girls and guys going to the gym, doing squats in slow motion in they real low rise, fit tee, legging wearing, and they sexualize everything now. Whereas working out was to just get healthy. Now it's to get sexy, you know, and everybody. So I get it. But if you fall into that trap of thinking like, oh, she go to the gym, there's about to be a gang of dudes looking at her. People gonna be trying to hit on her. Yeah, but if you trust your female, and if you have a strong female, she can politely say, thank you, but I'm in a relationship, and keep it pushing. Now, when you're worried about her and you're like, I don't want you going to the gym and working out with guys, it's because you don't trust her to say, no, I'm in a relationship. So what you're really saying is that if a guy hits on her, she's going to have to give him her number because she doesn't know how to say no. She's going to be scared for her life, and they may end up in the bathroom somewhere. Like, come on. So it's like, really, people have to check their egos, check their insecurities, check their control, put it to the side, and say, listen, babe, you know, if anybody tries to, you know, make you feel uncomfortable at the gym, you let me know, okay? And leave it at that. And then trust her to be like, you know, babe, this guy was hitting on me at the gym and I told him no like three or four times and he kept coming back. What do I do? She's going to be honest with you and open with you because she's going to trust you to trust her. But if you're telling her right off the gate, can't go swimming because your swimsuit shows your booty and your legs. You can't go to the gym because you got to wear leggings and they're going to be too tight. You can't go here because there's going to be guys there. that's all insecurities that he's putting on you, and that's not right. You know what I mean? It's really not right. So we really have to like understand what's happening when people say that. And that leads to checking your cell phone, because trust issues. I don't trust her to go here. She said she was going to the grocery store, but the GPS said that she over from Greg's house. Then he's on your cell phone, checking your phone. Who's Rebecca? Is Rebecca really Robert? Really? And then it's just snowballing. So it's like you got to have trust in these relationships. And that starts with being able to be at work, have a conversation with your supervisor who may be a male without your boyfriend going, so who's that? Oh, you was smiling at him real big. Horrible. So anyway, that's what I had to say.
No, I agree with you. Trust the person you're with. If you can't trust them, then my recommendation is don't become a private eye. Just stop being in the relationship. It's a lot more. I was a private
eye, son. There was a time I was a private eye.
And that was before GPS, so you know you was putting in work.
If I shared half the stories of the things I did as a broken, insecure female, you wouldn't believe me. I was so broken and I was so insecure, and it made no sense. And one day I had to really, really look at myself hard in the mirror, look at my reflection and say, girl, what is wrong with you? And I had to really start working on changing my life, because I was not the person I wanted to be. And I knew that I was doing this because I had seen this before. I'd grown up in these toxic environments, and I was repeating everything I had seen and all the insecurities and everything I said I didn't want to be. I was her, but I had to fix her before I put myself in any other relationship. I took a 5-year stint of being single, 5 years of being single and learning to love me broken, in pieces, in shambles, unapologetically, before I could get into my next relationship and be okay with him having a past, me having a past, him having friends, me having friends. I could meet your friends, you can meet my friends, all of our friends can be friends, no big deal. Now, again, I'm gonna trust you until I can see that the line's been crossed. But if you've not shown me that a line's been crossed, I'm not gonna try to control you, who you talk to, and where you go. You're grown. So let's remember that we're all grown, and these aren't our children. We're treating our significant others like children sometimes. And that right there, you really need to do some soul searching if you're that person who's treating your significant other like a child. Because what it does is it leads to infidelity. And if she wasn't thinking about cheating, she most definitely is now with you watching her GPS 24/7, because she's feeling like a prisoner. So we got to be careful. And then it's like, see, I knew it. No, see, you caused it.
Or you encouraged it. I believe everybody gets a choice. You encouraged it.
You encouraged. Okay, I'll give you that. You encouraged.
You're gonna tell me I caused you to cheat on me.
But you ain't
gonna blame me. He ain't gonna blame me for you cheating.
You may have kind of pushed her in that direction.
Yeah, no, you definitely can encourage the hell out of somebody, though. I ain't gonna lie about that. The next thing we have here is a comment from Damian Rowe. Comment to all. In my opinion, I believe that if a person you are in a relationship with has vulnerability issues that stem from a previous relationship, that can be dangerous for the relationship. Absolutely believe in that. And this is why before you get into the relationship with broken people, like Moses said, get into a relationship with at least a broken person who's picking up the pieces. Don't get into a person who's broke, about to try to break your stuff too. Moses asks a question. He says, how should, he said should, but I know you mean should, because how should women respond to men's toxic female friendships? The needy, attention-seeking, another party, let me borrow. It's 2 a.m. and y'all still on the phone, friends. How should they respond to that?
Ooh, that's funny. Okay, this is how I suggest if a female dealing with her significant other having a needy female. Stop laughing, Billy, because you're gonna make me laugh.
I gotta turn off my camera for a second.
Go ahead and pause. I'll take it from here. See what you did, Moses? I would suggest you dealing or handling that situation, or a female handling that situation, by simply going to her significant other and letting him know how it makes her feel. For example, I really love the relationship that you have with insert name here. I love that you guys can talk about anything, and I understand that she's going through a lot and helping you with things, but we're a couple and we're together, and it makes me slightly uncomfortable to see you spending so much time with her, especially at inappropriate times of the day. So if y'all can have a conversation for a few hours, cool. But, you know, if it runs past 12, 11, you know, that's my time. So I need you to really make sure that you are clear with her about setting boundaries, because that sounds like a relationship with no boundaries, or a friendship with no boundaries. Hey, you need to set some boundaries. I absolutely don't make phone calls to my friend of 21 years at 2 a.m. in the morning. If I do, I'm being murdered, and he knows to pick up because it's an emergency. I'm dying or bleeding, pick up. But there's no like, hey, I can't sleep tonight, so what's up? Like, we're not doing that. And so she needs to make sure that she sets just some clear explanations about how it makes her feel. Yeah, I appreciate this. I love how y'all are doing this. You know, I think it's great. However, I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable with the amount of time you're spending on the phone. If you could keep it till about 10 or 11, and then the rest of the night I can have you, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's enough said on that. Like, yeah, because I'm like, look, is it an emergency? I'm like, give me the phone. Do you need me to pick you up? You good? Because we in the bed, and if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, if she's still talking to you, that means we're not doing what I would like to do right now. So I'm gonna need you to call back between the hours of 8 and 5, business hours, homie.
My office hours are from.
Yeah, we will extend office hours to 8 p.m. and then we gotta go. Holla at your boy.
9 to 5. 9 to 5.
So yeah, so no, I definitely agree with that. There's a couple more things, and then I want to jump back into the questions. Siobhan says, trust is key. Absolutely. Damon agrees with her. Trust is a must. Also, MC Fierce, or I don't know if it's Mick Fierce, but MC Fierce sounds like a DJ, so we're going MC Fierce. Exactly. Siobhan says, I think it's more or less, I have no care for the situation since it has been going on for so long. Now that I hear it being spoken out loud, it is a form of control. MC Fierce, I wear my ring and flash it at CrossFit. And then Siobhan, I get the quote, you drove me to the other woman speech. Yeah, ain't nobody driving. That's why I said, I might encourage you, but it's your choice to get out the car. Even if I drive you there, it's your choice to get out the car and do what you do. So don't try to put that on me. I'm not taking that. We're all accountable for our own choices.
Do that. Control will absolutely drive you to do things that you otherwise possibly wouldn't do, because you just feel so confined. You feel like you feel powerless. You feel like you don't get to make your own just decisions. And so what makes it so easy, because you're almost like a damsel in distress, and it makes it so easy that when someone shows up and they're like, you know, if I was your dude, I wouldn't treat you like that. I would trust you to go to the gym. I would buy you flowers. That's all it takes. Right. And for them to say that they wouldn't do what your guy is doing for you, and then you're like, oh, I wish he was more like you. And next thing you know, he done talk the pants off you, and you know you're feeling some type of way. You're just all it is that control. If your guy would just unleash, or your girl would just unleash that control and stop trying to keep you under their thumb, you would feel more free to be like, you know what, I'm in a relationship and this is really inappropriate. So I'm gonna need you to take all that somewhere else, because I'm happy. I'm good and I'm happy. I'm at the gym. He trusts me at the gym. He's not outside the gym peeking in. He's not tracking me on GPS. We're good. He knows that I'm here and I'm doing work. And he knows that if somebody approaches me, that I'm woman enough to say, I'm sorry, but I'm in a relationship. You know, thank you, but I'm in a relationship. And that's it. So control can be very control to manipulation. And I do believe it leads to a lot of infidelity amongst people who are in a relationship, amongst other things, many other things. But I simply believe that if you're in a platonic friendship with someone, there is no malice. There is no lurking and hanging out in the bushes. There is no waiting for things to go left so that you can show up and be Captain Save 'em. Right. Those are people who are opportunists. They absolutely are not welcome. They should not be welcome. And it is up to the person who is friends with that person to say, you know what, I'm feeling like this isn't really a healthy relationship. And I'm gonna need or ex-nay this because it's not good for me or my relationship right now. And be comfortable saying that. I'm very much so comfortable saying that. Some women may not be. But I feel like it's up to the couple to have that discussion and to make sure that it's not like you need to do this. And it needs to be more like, hey, this is how I'm feeling when this is going on. And when you look inward and you're not accusatory to people and you're not threatening to people, they tend to be a little bit more receptive to what's being said to them, you know? So it makes me feel like you're going to get a better response to someone who's saying, I don't want you hanging out with her. I don't want you hanging out with him. Why is she calling you? Why is he calling you? You get a lot more respect from the person you're with when you just sit back and let them deal with it. I'm telling you that I was so young when that incident happened, but from then on, it made me look at things completely differently. Like, oh, so someone does trust me to be able to take care of myself. That means a lot. And so that's one thing that we got to look out for. And we really got to go back and figure out our mama issues, our daddy issues. And like Billy said, when you date people and you date people and you date people, you take pieces of them with you, pieces of that relationship with you. So you're adding onto this bag, and then you show up at somebody's door, ring the doorbell, and you got this big old Santa Claus sack behind you, insecure, immature, emotionally distraught, abandonment, infidelity, and they brought all that with you. And next thing you know, you can't do this. They're trying to control you. They're trying to check your cell phone. They're trying to do this. They're going through your stuff. They're not healthy. It's dysfunctional. And unless you seek help, it's actually going to be a hell of a ride for you. So I suggest everybody really just look at themselves first. Look at yourself before you go to your significant other and let them know what's bothering you or what you're comfortable with. And then you make a decision that's right for your relationship and both of you, that both of you agree on.
Right. One that both of you can agree on, because if only one of you agree, somebody's going to renege on the deal. I promise you. So I want to, with all that, I want to kind of jump back into these questions because we've been talking about opposite sex friendships from both the genuine opposite sex friend and the manipulative, opportunist, con man or woman opposite sex friend. I want to shift over into a different aspect of opposite sex friends. And I think it happens in a couple of different scenarios, but the opposite sex friend who maybe was your boyfriend at one time, and you take that step back and now you're no longer boyfriend and girlfriend. Can you actually move from that relationship, intimate relationship with a person back into the different level of intimacy of actual opposite sex friendships, in your opinion?
Can you move back? Sure. But it depends.
You don't even believe yourself.
It's rare. Mm-hmm. Why? Because that person is technically an ex. Mm-hmm. Exes can be friends when you are in a new relationship, supposedly. So that's very rare. Unless you have children, then you absolutely have to try to be friends. But if there's absolutely no need for communication after the breakup and you're with someone else, that can be tricky, depending on who you're with. So I feel like if you before you got into that relationship with that person, if you were friends first and that was a solid foundation, let's say you were friends for a year, 2 years, you tried to be in a relationship, didn't work out, you decided that it was better for you guys to be friends, and you can genuinely be okay with seeing them with someone else happily, being happy for them. You wouldn't be uncomfortable talking to their significant other or coming over for dinner with their family, then perhaps. But it's extremely rare for two people to start in a relationship and then go to being platonic friends. One, because the significant other is like not having that. But two, because there's always that underline of like, I know what you look like naked. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you had a good sexual relationship, then that can always be something that's constantly brought back up. So it's extremely rare. So it really depends. But like I said, I think it's really rare. And I can see Carisha does not agree with me. But like I said, that's a tough one. And it really depends on the person, depends on the ex, and it depends on the new beau as well.
Yeah, I think you say something though that's really important. And I think it speaks to relationships, not even just opposite sex friendships, but relationships. A lot of people, in my opinion, it seems, are getting into relationships with people that they're not even friends with first. Right. So it's hard to say, well, we were in this relationship for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 years. And then be like, now we're going to go back to being friends. If there was never a friendship there to begin with.
There's nothing to go back to.
Right. I think in those situations, it absolutely, hey, we're not together. This was all we had. It's over. Hey, I like what Carisha said. You know, we could be cool and cordial. If I see you, I don't gotta talk any mess about you or point and laugh or whisper and cackle or anything like that. But we didn't have a friendship to begin with, which is probably the issue with the relationship. We need to let that be. However, I would say that there are some rare occasions. I'm very fortunate. A lot of my ex-girlfriends, though we're not like friends and buddy, we're very cool and cordial. But a lot of them don't have like a disdain for me. It's like, look, our relationship didn't work out, but they're still cool people. I would still vouch for them in many areas of life. But it's very rare that you can go to being like friendships, a friend, how you and I are. Like if you're my ex, I'm not flying out to your city to visit you and stay. That's not even an option. It's not even safe, because in that situation, even if I have moved on in my mind to you're more like a sister now, there is still a resonance, what I would consider a soul tie from the sexual familiarity perspective, of where all it's going to take is a bad day and a shoulder to cry on, and now it's like, I just miss being in your arms, and I just miss the warmth of your body. I know issues. So I'm gonna agree with you on that one. It's rarer than uncooked meat. So definitely a good answer to that, my friend. And just so you guys know, we're way into overtime tonight, and I got a couple more questions I want to ask. But if you guys have questions or comments you want to contribute to the conversation, please keep them coming. You on the replay, feel free to engage with us in the comments, share your thoughts, your opinions. We're happy to engage with you guys as well. So for my next question, because I feel like the reason opposite sex friendships kind of got a bad rap is because of the person who was a cheater, whether male or female. But the person who was a cheater who used that, she just my friend, he just my friend, what you tripping about? And so opposite sex friendships got a bad rap because of people with malice in their intentions. So in your position, especially being one of my friends and knowing that I've known you through a couple of relationships, how do you overcome they're just my friend argument mentality that many people have used in opposite sex friendships to cheat? How do you overcome that when you have a friendship like mine and yours, or like yours and I's, where it truly is a platonic friendship? How do you overcome that?
So I'm an open person, or I'd like to consider myself an open person. I don't mind answering any questions, whether it's regarding an ex or a friendship or whatnot. I just believe in transparency. So I feel like when I have gotten into a relationship and I was like, oh, I have this friend Billy, and Billy this, Billy that, not many people questioned Billy because they didn't really question me, because they knew I was someone of integrity, morals, and I wouldn't be bringing him up and saying he's just a friend if he wasn't just a friend. And so I believe that, like, if you know you're with someone, you know them, you know their intentions, you know what kind of person they are, when they say that they have a platonic friendship, you really don't question them. It's those people that have them sketchy backgrounds. So when they say, like, I had this friend and he was telling me, so where you meet this guy? Because I ain't never heard of him before. And this is like, after you've been in a relationship for a while, and then this friend is just coming up and, we work together. And, well, how come we never talked about him before? And so it can get a little sketchy. I believe when you're getting to know somebody in those earlier stages, and you're talking to them and deciding whether you're going to be in a relationship, that's when it's important to really make it clear that you have friends that are guys and girls, and they're strictly platonic, and that's it. And what I've also done, which Billy, is you've met a boyfriend, and so it's like, hey, I'm going to have my friend Billy come out to meet you. He's in town. Let's go to dinner. We did that. We all went to dinner. And so it was very clear that I wasn't trying to hide Billy from my boyfriend, or my boyfriend from Billy, and keep them separate so that he just knew this much and he just knew that. Now y'all know each other. And if you want each other's phone number, I'm welcome to give you each other's phone numbers. Because if something ever happens to me, I need both of y'all to be aware of what's going on with me. And so I'm transparent. But again, these type of friendships are rare, because so many people are so insecure and not even willing to give the opposite sex friend a chance, because they're like, nah, because the minute he get an opportunity, he gonna try to smash. And that's all they think. And so we have to get out of this barbaric way of thinking that everybody's trying to smash and everybody's trying to, we're at this, like, again, social media has made it rampant. Trust me, we all used to be insecure before with pagers, but social media has made it so bad now where people are sliding into DMs and being unfaithful. You have way more channels to be unfaithful this day and age, and so it makes it that much more difficult. But we got to get down to the basics and read people, read body language, talk to them. And again, if your significant other would have a problem with you getting on the phone and talking to this friend, they probably ain't a friend. I'm just saying.
Right. If the conversation can't be on speakerphone,
they're probably not a friend.
Probably, yeah, not a friend. And I think you bring up a good point, the whole divide and conquer. I don't want the left hand to know what the right hand is doing. And I think that's opposite. I think on you guys watching this is the right hand for you guys. But I know my left from my right, just for the record. But that is a very keen tactic in the art of war of keeping both sides separate so that you can disrupt the communication. Well, you only got to go off of what I say, and you only got to go off what I say. So all that information has to mediate through me, so that way I can change certain parts and omit certain things and redact certain aspects so that it all still looks platonic and still looks like friendship.
It's sorcery.
Exactly. Wow, magic. Chinese magic, because that's karate. But it is that ability to identify what's taking place, and that's one of the things I really value. I mean, you've come and when I was married, you came and you met my family, had dinner with me and my kids and my wife at the time, and those are the things that you can do when you're not worried about somebody slipping. Also, what you can tell, here's where you can really tell if you're on the wrong side of the tracks, is if you have to disclaimer the person before they sit with your significant other, hey, they don't know about this, so don't tell them about this, okay? There is Houston, we have a problem. So it never matters that if what you're doing is in secret or in private or in public, doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I think that our moral compass, as much as I feel like religion drives us to have a sound moral compass and spirituality drives us to have those things, I think that naturally we know right from wrong. Naturally, I mean, a wolf will know, you know what, that looks like a trap. It's probably not right. Now, they may fall for the trap anyway, but they'll at least second guess it. We know these things instinctually. So anytime you start having to question what your intentions are probably not on the right page. So, I want to bring into the conversation, Damian Rose said, at Jennifer, thank you for the genuine transparency and sharing your personal experiences to educate those of us who stand in need of personal reflection to have healthier relationships. Well done. The next question I want to ask you, and we're actually almost towards the end of our questions, but the next question I want to ask you is, have you ever had to let an opposite sex friendship go? And would you revisit that friendship in the future based on why you had to let it go?
Absolutely. Have I ever had to let an opposite sex friendship go? Yeah, absolutely. Why? Because people be out there in the streets lying. They be lying. People be lying about what they want and their intentions. And once they're uncovered, and you know, here's the thing: if I'm not in a relationship and I'm single and I want to explore something, fine, I'll explore it. But if I'm in a relationship and I have somebody pretending to want to be a friend or coming back into my life and wanting to be a friend, but again, they're dropping those little hints, you know, so when you coming back into town, when you doing this, and how's everything going? You know, if I was your guy, I wouldn't be doing that. And so we can't talk anymore. This ain't gonna work. Because you're obviously an opportunist and you're waiting for something to happen. And all that's going to do is really distract me from working on my relationship and being a better person. Absolutely, I've had to cut off people who call themselves friends, but the minute you're in a relationship, they're either upset with you or mad at you, or they got an opinion about your relationship, things like that. And again, I'm grown. I've been doing this for a while. I'm going to continue to be grown. And I know how to let things go. You have to be okay with letting things go and letting people go. And that's the thing, is I feel like a lot of, well, I'm going to just put this out there and say it definitely goes both ways. But I feel like because I can only speak from a female perspective, right? I feel like a lot of men just can't trust a woman to say I'm good to another guy. I don't know why that is, but it's like they just can't imagine their girl saying, no, really, I'm good. You know, I need you to back off and have a good day. And so it causes anxiety for them. And so it's important to make sure that if I have somebody who's in my vicinity, they have my best interest in mind, and my best interest would be the relationship I'm in or the relationship I'm pursuing. So that's really important to me. Absolutely, I've had to let people go. Would I be interested in revisiting them? Probably not. I feel like if I let them go, it was for a reason. I'm really big on letting go and letting God. So big that I tattooed it on myself. So if we ain't together anymore, it's probably for a reason. And if we're not friends anymore, that's also probably for a reason as well. And I'm okay with letting people go.
I think that speaks volumes, because I think a lot of people are not okay with letting people go, or we hold on to those people who have kind of showed their hand. Oh, I got 2 aces, and they show their hand, and you be like, was that 2 aces? Why don't you come over here and find out? But they show their hand, and I think where the resistance that we have within ourselves to let them go is because it goes back to not wanting to put all your eggs in one basket. And you're like, right. Well, if this relationship I'm in doesn't work out, or if he dumps me, or he cheats on me, or she dumps me, or she cheats on me, or leaves me high and dry, I have this person who at least flashed me that they have 2 aces. So there's some interest there that I might be able to fall back on to buffer that rejection and buffer that hurt. So you're right. I agree that if I've come to the place where there's a friendship that I've had to let go, because, or I should be specific, an opposite sex friendship, because I've had to let go because I didn't feel like that person was in the best interest of my relationship or in the best interest of me, then I'm more likely not than I am going to revisit that friendship in the future. And now, does that mean that there's not a couple rare occasions where that might take place? Yeah, that might take place, but so far in life, there haven't been very many occasions where that's taken place. So I want to move on to the next question, because I think it's you've already answered this as far as the how to identify friendship fraud is really in those subtle innuendos of, hey, you know, have you ever? Would you ever? And just because some of my questions say that, y'all, I'm not interested. This is not a fact-finding mission. But are there any other things that stand out? I think one of the areas where we look at friends, frenemies, and then there's those people who are just fraudulent intention friends. Those are really frenemies. And is there anything else? Is there anything other than those subtle hints that they may do that you can catch that would alert you to their intentions not being what they genuinely say they are?
Oh, yeah, I feel like, okay, that's a really good question. Are there any other hints? I think like, what's the word I'm trying to look for? What am I looking for? What am I trying to say here? Tons of compliments. Someone who first thing you wake up in the morning and it's like 4:30 a.m. and they're like morning queen or morning beautiful. I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm sorry, but I'm uncomfortable with that. Anyone who is constantly trying to get information about your relationship. So, you know, how's he doing? Is he any better? You asking too many questions, asking all them questions.
For real.
That. Anyone who doesn't want, again, to be present. So if you're having an event and they're invited over and they're uncomfortable coming around and being around your family and or your significant other, that's probably a red flag. What else? And again, anyone who just drops those hints, like, you know, if you were with me and I would do that, you really have to read between those lines and know when it's someone who has good intentions. And the best way I would say to measure if somebody has good intentions is all the advice they're giving you in your favor, even when you're wrong? Because that's someone who's clearly biased, and they're biased toward you, meaning, you know, they're always gassing you up and making you feel like you did everything right and he didn't do anything wrong. Or is it someone who genuinely is like, listen, you may have, you know, you may have crossed the line. You may have done this. If it's someone who's not giving you unbiased advice, it's probably a wolf dressed as a sheep trying to get you to trust them and empathize with you and make you feel like you're a shoulder to cry on. Because if something happens and that's the first person you're constantly reaching out to, that's a crutch. That's not a platonic friendship. That's a crutch. And that is someone who is waiting for you to come over and be like, I'm done, I'm through. And the next thing you know, it's like, I don't know what. Next thing you know, yeah, it's someone who's literally willing, like waiting to take advantage of you. And so it's two things. It's important to be able to discern who has your best interest in mind and who's just waiting for an opportunity. It is also important as a significant other, if you suspect that your significant other has a friend who is trying to kind of be a snake or sly, you can put that out there and say, you know, I really don't have a good feeling about Bobby. You know, every time Bobby comes around, he's looking at you a certain kind of way, and I really don't have a good feeling about Bobby. I did this once in a relationship, and this was like one of the only times I did it back then, and it actually worked, where I had told my boyfriend about somebody who I felt uncomfortable with. I didn't feel uncomfortable with a lot of people, but this particular person I felt very uncomfortable with, and he kept saying, oh, no, it's just a friend, just a friend. I said, okay, but there's something about her that is different from everybody else in the crew. Everybody else seems cool, but you know what it was? It was the way she was treating me. Whenever I would show up, she was making sure that she was making me feel some type of way. And I told him that. I said, you know, I really feel uncomfortable with her. I think she likes you. And he swore up and no, she doesn't. He was very naive. No, she doesn't. She's just a friend. Da, 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 da. Well, she tried to make a move on him. Now he's grown, right? I'm not with him 24/7. I wasn't with him that night. He came back home and he was like, yeah, you were absolutely right. She tried to make a move on me and I had to check her real quick. He's like, wow, how did you see that? And I was like, because I'm a woman and I can see another woman coming after you. I know those looks that a woman gives. And the same with men. They see when another man is kind of giving you the eye or giving you that look. So it's not for him to say, you don't need to be around Bobby. It's for him to say, hey, when you're around Bobby, just watch out for yourself. There's something about him that's a little off, okay? And then trust her to make the right decision to be like, oh, I knew he told me Bobby was going to try something like this. Bobby, you're done.
Right. And Bobby's no more. Right.
And cut. Because when it's her idea and when she finally cuts off the friend, it's more likely to stay that way. But when you force her to cut off the relationship or friendship, they're just more likely to go around your back and do it behind your back. Sorry, but that's the truth.
Yeah, no. Then you go from an informed position to an uninformed position or uninformed. And that's not the position you want to be in. No, then you got to be a private eye again. What's the 443 in your pager?
We are retired from all private eye activity, I promise.
Well,
yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting ready to wrap, but I want to leave off with this question with you, and then I'll share a couple of tools for the first row on this particular concept. I've really enjoyed this conversation with conversation with you, my friend. I just really always enjoy our conversation, so I'm happy that we were able to put it on a platform for people to see tonight. And I appreciate everybody in the live chat just jumping in. If there's any questions or comments you want to make before we wrap, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll be happy to address them before we close out tonight. But for you, my friend, if there were 2 or 3 points that you would want to like have the viewers leave with tonight from tonight's conversation, what would those 2 to 3 points be?
Okay, well, I wrote them out, so I'm going to read a few notes for y'all. So I apologize in advance, but I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. The first thing I would say is make sure that you look at yourself first. Look at yourself first. Work on you. Why are you uncomfortable with opposite sex friendships would be my first question. Quite possibly it's because you've been cheated on or you've done the cheating. And there's really no trust. Without trust, you can't make any progress, excuse me. So you want to make sure that you work on yourself and you go into a new relationships with trust, because without it, it's pointless. Who in your life has lied to you or done you wrong? You need to make sure that you either reconcile that, forgive that person, or you're at least willing to acknowledge it and know where it comes from. That way, when those feelings start bubbling up in you, you don't put them on your significant other and drive them away with what the last person did to you. It's really important. Ensure that after every relationship, you're soul searching to find out how you played a role in the demise of your relationship, because trust me, it takes two. And find out what you need to do in order to enter your next relationship without the excess baggage. Again, doing that work. I took 5 years off. That just tells you how bad that relationship was. I went in hiatus for 5 years, but there was a lot of things that needed to be unplugged and replugged. And I mean, it was like, imagine having cable wire all wrapped up in a knot. It was all messed up. My life intertwined with this person so much in such an unhealthy way. I didn't even know where to begin. So I literally had to strip myself of everything and start from the ground up. But that was important in shaping who I became after that relationship. So if I could do anything, I'd go back to that person and thank them wholeheartedly, hug them and thank them, because those lessons brought me so far. Ask. If you're curious about a friendship, ask. You should be comfortable enough to ask your significant other questions about his or her relationships. If not, then you possibly have trust issues. Another one is, again, look inward. Who in your life modeled dysfunction? Mom or dad, uncle, aunt, grandma, grandpa. What type of person do you want to be, the perpetrator or the victim? And we really need to know our history to start to discover where these pre-notions came from. So looking back and finding out the dynamic of the family you were raised in, the house you were raised in. And the last two, ask yourself, why am I unable to have healthy relationships with trust, honesty, and openness? What can I do to get there? And what experiences in my life led to get me to this point? Lastly, if the person in your life has not breached your trust, it's probably your own insecurities reflecting in your life and off of your mate. You can't get there without doing the work. So make sure that you're not putting your issues onto them. It's unfair. It's not right. And you can't grow and learn from it. So just making sure that you look inside first before you put that onto someone else, and make sure that you're the healthiest you can be with all your broken pieces. You begin picking them up, piecing them back together, because we come from a history of slavery. Slavery did a toll on us. And it's something we don't talk about. We're secretive. What happens in this house stays in this house. Papa was a Rolling Stone. There's a lot of things that we let slide underneath, that we let our parents and our grandparents kind of pre-program us with. And if we don't look at all those things and the dynamic of our houses when we were younger and growing up in our history and our heritage, we're going to keep repeating the same things over and over again, and your children are going to repeat them. So do the work now so that you can raise healthy children and be in a healthy relationship.
Dang, dropping wisdom on the people. I love it. I love it. Hey, if y'all watching that on the replay, or even if you watched it live and you didn't get everything, catch it again on the replay. It's at about 1 hour and 31 minutes is where it came to an end at. So about 1 hour and 28 minutes, you can find all those nuggets that she just dropped, because that's what I'm gonna have to do, because I have to stop writing so I can just absorb. So with that, I do want to, with all Intersations, I always do a thing called Tools for the First Row. So First Row, the way that name came about is when I was younger. It's actually, I'm sorry, play on my name. My last name is W-R-O-E, which is pronounced Rowe. But it's a play on something that I learned when I was younger, when I was first kind of getting into the business world. One of my mentors told me that the people who sit on the first row, they make the most money and they get the most information. So that's how the First Row YouTube channel was launched. And so with Intersations, I like to provide what I call tools for the first row, because you are sitting on the first row of this conversation. I want to provide tools that you can hopefully utilize when dealing with opposite sex friends in your own personal life. And what these tools typically enable me to do is, as I'm compiling or creating the topic, it allows me to kind of resonate with what the message is for me, or what types of questions I want to ask. So I hope these tools are valuable for you as they are for me, but take notes or catch it on the replay. The very first tool that I came up with was understand what friendship is made of. And I think, again, when I said in the very beginning of this Intersation, was it's less about the opposite sex and more about what is a friend. If you don't have a clear definition for what a friend is, you're going to really have a lot of skewed visions and skewed perspectives on what an opposite sex friendship is, because it's going to be bouncing against something that is a moving target. Well, a friend is somebody who loves you, and a friend is somebody who slaps you on the butt, and a friend is, you're going to have all these moving targets of what friendship is. So the very first thing is understanding what friendship is. And there's a very good book that I read called The Light Switch. I forget the author's name, but it had a formula for friendship. And the formula was simply, there's 4 components of this formula. There was 1, friendship is made up of proximity, how close we are to each other. Whether that's, my friend JC is in Texas, I'm in Utah. So because we're so far apart, we don't have a lot of proximity. However, we're still friends. The second component is frequency. How often are you interacting, whether that's face-to-face, on YouTube, on the phone? That's a component. And we interact regularly. We don't interact as much as we used to because our lives have kind of changed and our schedules are a little different, but we interact regularly. The third thing is duration, the time, the amount of time that you interact with the person. So we've been interacting on this YouTube channel for about an hour and a half, and it seems like it's only been an hour. This is typically the life that we live when we're on the phone anyway. So duration is a very key component because the amount of time you spend, going back to what JC said in the conversation, in the Intersation, she said, you know, if somebody's on the phone with you at 2 o'clock in the morning, okay, well, there's a duration that you have exceeded for what is a healthy opposite sex friendship. And then the fourth thing being the intensity. How intense is that time that you're spending together? You know, is it only in the times of catastrophe in your relationship? And is it only in the times when there's an opportunity for them to possibly take advantage of your vulnerability? That intensity plays a role. And so those are the four components of developing friendship. And when you have a good balance or a healthy mix of those, you typically have healthy friendships, whether male or female, opposite sex or same-sex friendships. However, there's a fifth component that I put in myself that allowed me to understand when friendships were shifting into more of a romantic interest. And that is physical activity. Now, going back to being at the gym, there's difference between working out with somebody. Now, it does release some of the same endorphins as sexual activity does, but there's a difference between, you know, I'm going to go and lift these weights. We may see each other 3 times a week because we work out together. And there's a complete difference when all of a sudden, every time I see you, I'm caressing you and I got to now give you multiple kisses and hugs when I see you. Now, what the heck are we talking about? We're not talking about friendship anymore. We are now shifting into romantic interest. So that's a fifth thing that just is to be aware of is the physical activity or the physical contact that happens in your friendship formula that you need to be aware of in order to avoid slipping or shifting from friends to romantic to potentially threatening opposite sex friendship or friend liarship. I don't know what to call it, but it ain't friendship. Number 2 is trust your initial intentions. Now, I was conflicted with adding this tool because I agree with JC on the sense of, you know, you might meet somebody, think there's an interest there, but then kind of find that they fit better as a friend than they do as a romantic interest or romantic partner. But it is also important to still trust why you make those or understand why you make those changes so that you can trust in what your initial intention is. Because I mean, when I met JC, as you guys can see, she's a very beautiful young lady. When I met her, I was physically attracted to her. But throughout the years, we made a complete shift from physical attraction, like, oh, you know, if I have my chance, I shoot my shot, to no, this is my friend and I would do anything for her and I'd be a confidant for her and I'd be a person who would give her unbiased advice to hopefully bring her to the best relationship that she can possibly have. Now, the best relationship that I have already reconciled that her and I will possibly have is our friendship. I don't think it gets any better than this. It doesn't get any better than this. So why try to ruin that with something romantic when it's already the best that it can be? So trusting your initial intentions will help you keep from being in those situations where she said, you know, you bring that opposite sex friend around and all of a sudden they're jealous of your wife or they're doing things to like really try to monopolize your attention or monopolize your time in social settings. Being able to understand and trust your original intentions or initial intentions will allow you to kind of avoid those pitfalls when it comes to opposite sex friendships. The third thing was communicate clear intentions. That goes to communicating if you're in a relationship with your partner, or even if you're not in a relationship with the person that you have identified that is going to be a friend. If this is, hey, you know, I believe in getting to know somebody before we even venture into the relationship world, communicate that. And you can work to build that friendship with the understanding that it may lead to something else. However, if your intention is, hey, I just want to be friends, that's all I'm interested in, communicate that. And anytime that there is a communication contrary to that, you might give some grace in the initial startup of, hey, you know, okay, well, you really must have thought I was playing like I wanted to be your friend. No, I really just want to be your friend. But at some point, you have to make that decision to say, I'm going to now clearly communicate something else. It is clear to me that you and I can't be friends. So because we can't be friends, and that is all that I'm seeking, I'm going to end the relationship here. and move on. Wish them the best. Wish them well. Like Carisha said, be cordial, be cool, but keep it moving. And then the fourth and the final thing is the one-sided perspective is limited. And one of the greatest benefits that I have of having opposite sex friendships is the perspective that I am able to get. There's been times, like I said, where JC has called me to the mat and said, look, my friend, you were wrong. Or my friend, you know, I know it's hard and I know you want to give up, but let's look at what you did and see if that really, if you need to provide patience and grace in this situation for the hurt and the chaos that you caused within your own relationship. And so having that perspective, a lot of my guy friends are not going to talk to me. I mean, I have a couple that will, they'll be like, hey, they're just like, you effed up. You got to roll with that. They don't really give me the feedback that I need to make a change. So having that perspective, whether it's mentally, intellectually, even socially, is very helpful in helping to navigate the landscape of friendship in general. So, and helping to navigate your relationships. Going back to my homeboy Brian, though, if they sharing every information with all the information with their standby boyfriend, get out of here with that. That's not a change in your perspective so that you have multiple perspectives. That's so you have multiple prospects. Different word, different definition. So other than that, that's the 4 tools that I got. Understanding what friendship is made of, using the friendship formula, trusting your initial intentions, communicating clear intentions, and then also understanding that the benefit you're going to get is that you don't have a one-sided limited perspective by having opposite sex friends. At the end of the day, though, I'm always going to say, do what's best and what's healthy for you and your relationship. As long as you and your partner are able to agree on what the landscape of opposite sex friendships looks like in your relationship and it's mutually agreed upon, you should be good at the end of the day. If you lie, though, don't be mad that you had to give up something that you didn't want to give up. Other than that, the next live shows that we have going on the Intersations, are not on the Intersations, on the first row on YouTube, will be tomorrow. There will be a Wednesday word that will be at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is going to be on emotional overload. Yes, emotional overload. But I'm even though I'm excited about the Wednesday word this week and next week, I'm not going to tell you what that topic is. I do want to promote that next Thursday, because it's Christmas week, we're going to have an Intersation on Thursday, and that will be the first row Intersation panel with 4 guests that I will have. I will have Trenton Fitzhugh, Jennifer Grant, Moses Jenkins, and Terrellyn Singletary. That will be at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You do not want to miss this. It's the first panel. It's going to be an excellent conversation between beautiful minds, different, varying experiences, but I'm sure you'll have a good time. So other than that, before I get out of here, JC, is there anything else that you want to say to the people before we go?
No, I love you all. Thank you all for joining in. I appreciate it. This was my first Intersation, so thank you all for going easy on me. Mr. Rowe, you did an excellent job. Love this channel. You guys subscribe, like, and join and share. Good night.
Right. Well, shoot, you hit almost my little closing statement, but I'm going to say it anyway. As always, if you like this video, please share it. Thank you for jumping on tonight. If you share this video, please like it. If you have not already, go over and click the subscribe button. And once you click that subscribe button, there's a little bell next to it. Click the bell so you can be notified when we are live on the first row. Other than that, if you think that this message might resonate with somebody, I'm going to add this extra spice tonight. Do a share. Send it to them, whether it's via text message, an email, on Facebook. Share it, because I believe that this conversation was powerful and people need to hear it, because there's lives out there being affected, as you could see in the chat tonight. So other than that, I thank you guys for joining us tonight on the first row. Until the next time, one love, peace, and God bless.